welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report today for October the 4th of 2019. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams, and 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I bring you the hottest gaming news that you need to know right here on the Jampack Report. If you enjoy the show, consider hitting that subscribe button on youtube.com/Samuel Adams Media or a podcast feed of your choosing. I have a good time making the show. I hope you have a good time watching it. But today we have some bad news. It looks like a round of layoffs has hit Discord, specifically in the marketing department. What could this mean going forward as the company begins to really grow into its own in the coming years? Then we will talk more about Recon Breakpoint microtransactions, those that were added to the game a bit prematurely, giving players a glimpse as to what is going to be coming as the game does age. Then we've got a big data leak over there at Electronic Arts if you are playing FIFA 20. Mario Kart Tour is a big hit. We will follow up last week's numbers with some more updated figures as to just how big the game actually is. Then we will talk more about the Death Stranding TV spot, a big milestone for Detroit Become Human, and finally, a freebie to round out today's show on the Epic Games Store, because, you know, I love keeping you guys up to date on the biggest freebies out there. Because who likes paying for games whenever you can get really good games for free, right? Right. But if you enjoy the show, again, consider clicking that subscribe button. But until then, let's go ahead and dive into it. First off, Discord confirms layoffs. The chat platform says it, quote, made an active shift in the talent needs of our marketing department. Discord has made a round of cuts internally, the chat service has confirmed to GI.biz. Quote, yesterday we made an active shift in the talent needs of our marketing department to better serve our growing business and future ambitions, a rep said. As part of this, some difficult personnel decisions had to be made to meet these goals. It is not clear at this point just how many people were let go. Discord has had a busy year. The company broke 250 million users in May and added live gameplay streaming to its list of features. At the same time, it has spent 2019 largely backing away from its 2018 plan to become a place where users want to get their games. It shut down its storefront in March, instead allowing devs to sell games through their own channels, and later this month it will stop giving free games away as perks to the subscribers of its premium Discord Nitro service. And so, of course, I always keep you guys up to date on what is happening with most of the major apps that kind of make the industry into the industry that it is today, and Discord is certainly one of those apps. But number one, first and foremost, to those impacted by the layoffs, always hope the best for those. Always hope you land on your feet, because it's never a good day whenever you get news about a layoff, without a doubt. But the way that I look at Discord in 2019 is that it's trying to do everything, and it's doing most things relatively well. But no matter how you cut it, whenever you try and be the one-stop shop, you are always going to have strong points and weak points. And I think that Discord might have kind of gotten lost in the sauce, so to speak, whenever it rose to fame so quickly. Now, with that being said, Discord is pretty much solidified as the way that gamers communicate with one another. And on top of that, it's becoming a used app outside of the gaming space. I think Discord is kind of a universally used piece of software that really does enable effective communication regardless of whether or not you are in a gaming community. But on top of that, the storefront was a bit much. The streaming capabilities, where you can stream to a small audience of just your friends or those in your server, that might be a bit much. On top of that, Discord Nitro giving away free games, yes, that's a very nice idea, but at the same time, that's where you get a lot of money flowing out and probably not the same return flowing back in, because those deals, they cost money. These companies aren't just going to give away their games for free. You have to pay for them. Whenever you get a free game through PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live Gold, that's not just willy-nilly, that's a big deal going on in the back end. But, of course, as always, I do hope everybody does land on their feet from the layoffs at Discord, but hopefully going forward, as they do kind of restructure the way the company is going to be growing, they will take into consideration the strengths and dump, that's not even a word, and dump the weaknesses off just a bit. However, moving on to the next story of the day, Recon Breakpoint microtransactions aren't quite as bad as they were. Ubisoft removes the time saver packs that it says should not have been live. If you sprung for one of the premium versions of Ghost Recon Breakpoint, you have had the chance to experience the game early. If you didn't, it comes out today. And if you have dipped your toes in, you have likely noticed a few items you can only purchase using Ghost coins, real money. So, not awesome, but Ubisoft has since removed one of the most controversial, the Time Saver bundles, from the in-game store. Ubisoft says the Time Saver bundles were never meant to be included in Ghost Recon Breakpoint's in-game store, issuing the following response. We are aware that during the early access of Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint on October the 1st, some Time Savers items, skill point bundles, XP boosters, parts bundles for advanced weapon upgrades, were available for purchase for a few hours in our store, but this was not our intention and was an error on our behalf. Before they were removed, the Time Saver bundles had packs that could get you ahead in the game. For instance, you could get 60 skill points for 2,400 Ghost coins, which comes out at $19.99 and cents. You know, about 20 bucks. The response goes on to confirm that the Time Savers have been removed from the store for now, leaving open the possibility that they will be re-added at some point in the future. The studio went on to say, Time Savers were not designed to grant any advantage over players choosing not to use them. Additionally, Ghost War PvP has been carefully balanced to ensure that no matter your experience as a player, no one has a critical advantage based on their progression. Reddit user Blank8704 first flagged the alarming number of microtransactions littering the in-game store, prompting a discussion of over 1,100 comments at the time of this writing. You can rightfully assume comments are overwhelmingly critical of Ubisoft and Ghost Recon Breakpoint. You can keep an eye on the coverage at gamesradar.com for more news, but I will say this was very unfortunate because I'm a big fan of Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I dove into the open beta and really did kind of fall in love with the game. Now, I'm not picking it up on day one, I will say that. I think it's going to be one that I dive into this winter when there's a bit of a lull. But at the same time, these microtransactions, they seem to be a bit much. Now, I understand the idea of a Time Saver bundle being implemented later on in the game's life. Not that I support it, just that I understand it. Because if you are somebody that joins up in the game 6 months later, a year later, a couple of years later, and you do want to level up very quickly, you can just pay an additional amount of money, and boom, there you have it. Especially as the game is discounted, you could see a lot of people taking up that offer and saying, I paid 20 bucks for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, let's go ahead and spend $40 and level up my character to whatever level that gets you to. But that doesn't necessarily make it right. I will say that it's not as crippling as it initially sounds, because as they say in the response, the level in the game, the way that you have leveled up doesn't necessarily impact how you play on a competitive level. It does impact your own gameplay performance whenever you are playing a solo kind of style, but at the same time, when it comes to PvP, that is pretty much all separate, and I will say that it is a fun PvP mode. I kind of enjoyed that. But again, Ubisoft really going overboard on the microtransactions for Ghost Recon Breakpoint. But as more people get angry, maybe they will make some changes. As we can already see, these have been pulled from the store, even though hypothetically they were never supposed to be there in the first place. But speaking of companies really messing up, Electronic Arts leaks the personal data for FIFA 20 Global Series players. Those signing up saw email addresses, dates of birth, and other details. EA opened up registrations for the FIFA 20 Global Series competition today. However, those trying to register noticed the sign-up page displayed personal details of players who had already done so. They saw usernames, email addresses, and dates of birth, among other information. So as you can see by @GeorgeHughes here on Twitter, if you go in to actually register, it looks like where you would normally see enter email address here in a kind of blurred out version below the actual box itself. That is now populated with legitimate player information. Not the best move on the programmer's part. It seems as though the problem affected high-profile players and professionals, as well as anyone who signed up. After reports of the issue emerged, EA took down the page to investigate and said it would provide updates as soon as possible, and they regurgitated the same corporate stuff whenever they were asked for comment, saying, quote, "We are aware of a potential issue affecting the registration page for the EA Sports FIFA 20 Global Series that went live earlier today. We take these matters seriously, and we immediately took down the page while we investigate the matter. We will share updates as soon as possible." And so, number one, I don't know if the page is still up as it stands right now, but I would probably hold off on registering for the Global Series until EA issues an official confirmation that the problem has been fixed. But definitely a big problem on the back end, because in today's day and age, if you are a high-profile celebrity player, this can be very crippling for your career, especially depending on just how sensitive the information is. Now, it looks like, if I'm reading this correctly, the email address is pretty much the most, I suppose, controversial piece of information that's being released here. There are no addresses, things along those lines, but still, there's a lot that can be done with just an email address and a birthday. You can find a lot of information on somebody on the internet. But without a doubt, not a good look for Electronic Arts. However, Nintendo's got a good look with Mario Kart Tour, because coming to us from CNN, Mario Kart Tour is Nintendo's biggest mobile hit yet. Nintendo's latest mobile app, Mario Kart Tour, was downloaded more than 90 million times in its first week. That is a new record for Nintendo mobile games. Its previous record holder was Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, which had 14.3 million installs in its first week, according to data provided by analytics firm Sensor Tower. But it's not a complete surprise that Mario Kart Tour resonated with iOS and Android users. The game brings Nintendo's popular racing series Mario Kart to smartphones, allowing fans to race against computer-controlled characters inside the app, with multiplayer coming in the future. On the app's launch day, some users complained on social media of issues trying to play the app right away due to heavy traffic. Although fans of the franchise were eager to download the game, they are less eager to spend money on it. It's free to download, but a monthly subscription of $4.99 unlocks rewards and other characters. But I will say, you can also unlock more things without paying the $5. This article is a bit misleading. That's before the $19.99 fee to unlock Mario as a playable character. Quote, "It's off to a record-breaking start in terms of downloads, but revenue is a different story," said Randy Nelson, head of mobile insights at Sensor Tower. The game has made $12 million so far, according to the firm, which Nelson said is certainly impressive, but he would have expected more from 90 million downloads. Nintendo is currently offering promotions and free trials within the game, and once those deals expire, it could see a sales boost. The app may be Nintendo's biggest mobile hit today, but it may still trail behind the success of Pokemon Go, which is not a Nintendo property, but uses characters commonly seen in its games. While Pokemon Go only saw 38.5 million installs in its first week, it had a gradual release and only appeared in 3 countries initially. It has since grown incredibly lucrative, bringing in $110 million last August alone, for a total of $2.95 billion globally since its release. So, still the same kind of situation where the downloads are up, the revenue remains pretty stagnant. And again, as we said last week, with the free trials of the various passes that are within the game, those will expire in roughly a month. So I would be expecting some kind of big boost in terms of revenue whenever, number one, people do subscribe to those services, and number two, people forget to unsubscribe from the services. And then I would say probably a dip the following month when people say, "Oh my God, I'm paying $5 for the Mario game." But regardless, 90 million downloads is nothing to shake a stick at. And this is what goes to speak volumes about nostalgia. Because whenever you look at Android and iOS users, of course, people that play games on mobile tend to trend to be relatively younger if you're talking about these kinds of games. Of course, if you are doing a match 3 game, the age varies greatly. The majority of people that play Match 3 games are older, actually. And so, whenever you are looking at Mario Kart Tour, you're talking about people between the ages of, I would say, 20 and 40 that remember playing the games growing up when they were in college, whenever Mario Kart Tour first came out. Then you have people like me in their mid-20s, where they grew up on Mario Kart, on the DS, on the Game Boy, whatever it might have been. To be able to have this on the go in any kind of way, shape, or form is something that is certainly going to be appealing, even if it is just a short play session of a couple of minutes. You still get that little scratch of the itch whenever you are playing a Mario Kart game. But without a doubt, big numbers coming in from Mario Kart Tour. However, big numbers are going to be coming in from Death Stranding as well, and there's a brand new trailer to get you up to date. In line with other prominent Sony-backed games, Death Stranding now has a promotional trailer to call its own. The game has been shrouded in mystery for years, and while we have learned a lot these past few months, not everyone has kept tabs on Kojima's weird baby. That is where this video comes in, and so I thought we would go ahead and give it a watch, you know, just to kind of stay up to date and informed, because there is a lot to break down within this trailer, and it does a fairly good job of giving you the highlights. So let's go ahead and check it out.
It ain't as simple as it seems. try and stop you every step of the way.
Gorgeous looking animation.
But you gotta keep moving. No matter what. They've torn us apart. Fractured our society.
Hurry, Sam. You know what's at stake.
And the only way to save it is in my hands. My name is Sam Porter Bridges. It's my job to reconnect us.
So, to back up just for a moment, I have no idea what the giant Burning Man is there in the background, but my God, that looks terrifying. Now, with all of this being taken into consideration, we now understand in a TV format the idea of what Death Stranding is. Of course, everybody has known this for a long time, but whenever you are thinking about the marketing department at, of course, Kojima Productions, you have to consider the fact that you do have a bit of a disconnect between the general audience and the Death Stranding audience, because if you were trying to sit down and explain to Jim, who just buys Madden and Call of Duty at GameStop, why he should buy Death Stranding, it's very difficult because you don't even know how to explain what the game itself actually is. And this does a pretty good job of giving you the basics, where the nation has been fractured, the world has been torn apart. You are this dude who has to bring it back together, and there's some weird shit happening. That is pretty much the gist of the idea. But it's a short-to-the-point non-gameplay commercial intended as an introduction, and also a reminder that, hey, Death Stranding is nearly ready for release on November the 8th. People might even see it at the gym. If you have watched every trailer, you aren't going to find much to chew on here, but it's always a pleasure to catch a glimpse of the giant Wickerman-esque BT. I can't wait to figure out that whole deal, the author says, and the Warzone hellscape, and Mads Mikkelsen's skeleton crew, and so on and so forth into eternity. Now, he is also working on the final trailer, according to Destructoid, and there are plenty of other gameplay trailers, gameplay videos to check out with Death Stranding. But as the game does draw near, it's almost time. It is the hour of reckoning. We will see how Death Stranding actually fares. And of course, if we are going to be putting my predictions on the books, I will go ahead and go out and say on a limb, the people that love Kojima, the people that love the weirdness of Metal Gear Solid 5, that little strange, like, all of the stuff that was in that game, they're going to fall in love with this game. Those that are general players, maybe even like myself, might not necessarily pick it up quite as quickly. But we will see, indeed, in just a couple of days. And to round out today's show, I've got a couple of stories for you. Number one, Detroit Become Human, congratulations. 3.2 million units shipped worldwide on PS4. That is a pretty big win for, of course, Quantic Dream and the PlayStation brand. The game was given away for free in a PlayStation Plus promotion, so it's unclear as to whether or not these were actually included in the official figures, but I would say probably not. Now, of course, the game is a very big hit. Just recently came to PC. I believe it came to PC. If not, it's coming to PC. And a very fun game to play. Story-driven, beautiful graphics overall. Very impressed with this game. So I did want to give a general nod to the guys at Quantic Dream. But finally, a freebie for you. Minit is free this week through the Epic Games Store. Up next is Surviving Mars. Minit is free this week on the Epic Games Store and will be replaced on October the 10th by Surviving Mars. Minit is an adventure game which is played 60 seconds at a time. Here is the synopsis. Journey outside the comfort of your home to help unusual folk uncover countless secrets and overcome dangerous foes, all in hopes of lifting a rather unfortunate curse that ends each day after just 1 minute. Next week on October the 10th, Surviving Mars will be free, available through the Epic Games Store. The game is a sci-fi city builder with the goal of colonizing Mars and surviving the process. And so, if you do want to dive in and leave your house for only 1 minute at a time like I do every day, then check out Minit on the Epic Games Store. It's always going to be a freebie, at least for the next 7 days. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. Of course, it's been a phenomenal week of shows, so I would encourage you to go back and check out the previous episodes because there's some good content there, and you would enjoy it. But until Monday, you guys have a phenomenal rest of your weekend. I will talk to you soon, and peace.